Hi, I'm Chris Voorhees. I'm the president and CEO of First Mode. And with me today is Vice President of Engineering, Maggie Scholtz. And we're going to talk a little bit about the company that we helped to found and where we're headed and how that company is connected to hydrogen and to the decarbonization of big industries. And that's essentially what First Mode is. First Mode is a new technology and product development firm headquartered in Seattle, Washington, with offices in Perth, West Australia. And we specialize in the design, definition, integration, test, and operation in the field of new technologies, specifically at the confluence of big mobile systems, clean power and energy, and harsh environments. And we've, in the recent past, been working closely with the mining and metals industry on working problems at the source within the mine site itself and figuring out the best ways to decarbonize those huge implementations that we all rely on to make the things that we need to make society work.
So Chris, we built a zero emission power plant for Anglo American's mining truck, which is now the world's largest hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. What are the immediate and future impacts of this clean technology on mining?
Well, the demonstration that we did with Anglo American that's active right now at Anglo's Mogalakwena platinum and PGM mine site in South Africa was really, it started with a challenge from Anglo to see if we could take one of their existing 300-ton capacity haul trucks that sits active in their fleet, and instead of doing it at a proving ground, work at the site to remove the existing diesel generator and replace it with a hybrid of fuel cells and batteries that give the equivalent performance to the existing platform, but to do so in a relevant environment. And there isn't any better place than an active mine site. And it's a very important mine site for Anglo. And so what that allowed us to do is go through the integration, test, and commissioning process that you'd have to do for any new system that showed up at a mine, and also gave us the opportunity to brief, educate, and socialize this new technology within a mine. And the mine is really where the climate change problem starts. With any product, it's likely built from materials that have been dug out of the ground at some point in its past. And so its carbon footprint starts right there, where we're bringing that useful material out of the ground and turning it into something that we can then use for making our society work. So the problem starts there. I guess for us, like this, so does the solution. If you can start and develop and demonstrate that the technology is available today to help decarbonize the problem at a place that's as difficult to operate as an active mine site, then you can really do it anywhere.
Will First Mode continue to work with Anglo American to decarbonize more of their haul trucks at Mogalakwena and other mine sites?
Yeah, so what we really have right now is a proof of concept truck that demonstrates that the technology is ready, it's accessible, and it's implementable in the environment in which it needs to operate. And the next step for us is to really scale that out, because the problem isn't a truck problem. Like there is part of the problem that is a truck, but the truck is actually just a method of transporting material. And it's part of a larger fleet that is part of a larger system that processes material at the mine site. And Anglo-American's ultimate objective is to decarbonize many of their active mine sites through the rest of this decade. And so you can't really look at the truck in isolation. You have to look at it in the fleet and how you deploy a fleet and how you transition that fleet from diesel into other various forms of energy, be it hydrogen storage, battery systems, and that's going to affect the way that you operate those vehicles, and that's going to affect how the operators have to operate, and it's going to affect how the dispatch has to use it, and it's going to affect how the mine managers have to manage their operations. That takes time. It takes education. It takes training, because you're not really swapping out just a truck. You're swapping out a system that helps move material from place to place. And you could have a perfectly good truck, but if you don't have the rest of that system in place, it's not going to be very useful. And so our ultimate objectives with Anglo-American is to bring that system to bear, not just at Mogalakwena, but at several of their sites over the next several years.
So now that we have the proof of concept new gen truck running and operational at Mogalakwena, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, so right now we're still in what I would call is the commissioning phase of the system. We're starting to venture out of our test area and into the active mine site. We're starting to run load and dump exercises, and we're really getting to know the vehicle and also getting to know what works and what doesn't inside of the site. At the same time, we're able to train technicians, maintenance staff, and operators on how the system is working, and get their feedback on what feels good, what doesn't, what feels different than a diesel vehicle, what operates different, and how we might be able to improve the system. And really for us, it's the pathfinder. The next set of steps is to get that vehicle into what I would say is a mixed fleet operation. So we add our hydrogen system into the diesel truck fleet in pit operations, and see what we learn, and just get progressively more comfortable with the system, and educate the folks that are currently designing the next generation of those platforms to know what they need to do differently this time, so that when we scale this up and we start to bring the rest of the fleet online, we're doing so with the best possible information from the best possible place to learn it.
What are some of the significant challenges associated with decarbonizing a haul truck that can be applied to other mobility systems or even across a mine site?
Yeah, really the things that we're learning are relevant to a wide variety of applications, but we've kind of started with one that I think is definitely not the low-hanging fruit of problems. Like a haul truck and a mine site, they're pretty nasty places to operate. They're typically in environments that are widely variable. It can be very, very hot, be very cold. It's dirty and dusty. It's an all-terrain environment, right? Because you're off-road with these big vehicles, and they operate 24/7, and downtime is measured in the millions of dollars per day. And so your operation needs to keep going and keep moving, otherwise you're not making money. That's a pretty unforgiving set of criteria. And what we're trying to do now, and what we've done with our proof of concept, is injected a whole host of new technologies into a system that never intended to have those. The vehicle that we're using was designed with an internal combustion engine at its heart, which means the mass constraints, the volume constraints, the structural design, the thermal design are all around a different type of energy, of power generation and energy storage. And we're replacing all of that. You have to solve every one of those problems, repair the things that you broke in the process of redesigning it, and make the system as functional and as safe as it was previously. That effort is significant, but in doing it at the mine site, I believe like our team hasn't been able to ignore all of those problems, and has had to kind of embrace finding a solution that fits and works and can scale. And that's where we find ourselves as we move forward from the work we've done and into the next steps, which scales it out to the fleet as a whole.
Why is First Mode focused here? Why cleaning up mining? Why heavy industry?
Yeah, I think the real thing for us is starting at the source. The decarbonization problem starts where the carbon footprint begins, and it begins at the source of material. And I think for us, the company strategy that makes sense is there's lots of big industrial sized and utility scale energy and power problems that exist all the way along the supply chain. If you start at the mine site, you've got these big transport problems at the trucks. But the next step is sometimes and usually rail, and you follow that rail network to a port, and you follow that port to a refinery, and you can kind of naturally see that you're moving from one big energy problem to another. And there's lots of companies working from the opposite direction, starting at the consumer and working the decarbonization effort from that direction. I think that we've found a place in working from the opposite direction, start from the source and meet in between. But if you solve only one part of that problem, you're really just moving the problem around and haven't really come up with a system-wide solution.
Why are we well suited for helping to work with these system-wide solutions in decarbonization?
Yeah, I think the different way that we've been able to look at the problem is to realize that there isn't one widget that solves this. And we've been able to come at this from a system level perspective and realize that actually you have to draw the boundary of the problem around the right spot. If you don't solve the energy production problem, and you don't solve the energy storage problem, and you don't solve the power and energy distribution problem, you don't necessarily solve your transport problem. And so in order to enable a truck, you have to enable its recharging or refueling. In order to enable that, you have to enable energy storage or energy production. And it goes all the way back to where that electron first gets captured, all the way to it applying torque at the ground. And much of that is brand new. And it's all disruptive to an environment that is not built around it. And so you have to look at that whole perspective in order to be able to then tie the right tools and the right parts of technology to arrive at a good solution.
Why now? Why? What did you mean by this is the fire everything moment?
Yeah, I think that we've missed the opportunity with climate change to use the easy solutions. Like, we can't conserve our way out of the situation that we've got ourselves in. And so we need to look at all tools that we can bring to bear and all technologies that we can bring to bear, and have an open mind and let the solutions drive how we approach it. But I feel very strongly, very personally, and I think First Mode as a company is motivated that this is the problem of our time. And if we have an opportunity to make a positive impact, we should be doing everything that we can to do so.